The first time I noticed him, he was wearing a navy tie. Same pattern I used to wear when I was trying to get noticed. That alone didn't bother me. What bothered me was the way Claire smiled at him, tilted head, soft eyes, the kind of smile people reserve for inside jokes or shared secrets. He started 2 months before I was let go. Fresh out of an acquisition, came in as senior strategy, whatever that meant. I asked Claire what she thought of him after a team dinner once. She didn't even look up from her phone, just said, "He's ambitious." That word stuck with me, not because of how she said it, but because of what she didn't say after. She usually had opinions, strong ones, but that night it was like she was walking around something sharp. Then there was the tapping. I know it sounds stupid, but he tapped his pen like I used to when I was nervous during pitches. Fast, rhythmic, not loud, just enough to cut through silence. I stopped doing that years ago when Claire told me it made me look unsure, but now she'd just laugh when he did it in meetings. "He's got nerves like you," she said once, then paused like she wasn't sure she should have said that. Small things added up fast. The way he always stayed a few minutes after meetings to help wrap up. The way her phone buzzed more often but stayed face down. Once, I glanced over and saw his name flash across the screen. Just his first name, no last initial. Too familiar. She'd gotten good at silencing notifications. Good at changing the subject. I wasn't snooping, I wasn't even trying to catch her in anything. I just started noticing. One Thursday, I came back from lunch early. My keycard still worked, even though they'd been talking about new badge protocols for weeks. As I stepped off the elevator, I saw them through the glass wall of conference room B. The blinds were pulled halfway, but I could see enough. She was standing close, too close, not touching but the kind of close where you can feel someone's breath. He leaned in and said something. She laughed that laugh. The one I hadn't heard in our apartment in months. It was softer now. Less me, more him. I didn't barge in, didn't throw the door open or yell. I just stood there. I don't think they saw me. Or maybe they did and didn't care. When I finally opened the door, Claire turned to me like I'd interrupted a printer jam. "Oh," she said, "you're back early." Her tone didn't shift, not a blink of guilt. She just smoothed her blouse, casually stepped back. He nodded at me like we were strangers on a train, and then she asked if I needed something. Not in a warm, familiar way, just neutral, corporate, like I was her coworker, not her husband, not the guy who helped her practice interviews and built pitch decks at 2 a.m. back when we were still hungry and scared and in love. I looked at her for a beat, tried to find something, a flicker of discomfort, anything, but she held my gaze like a polished wall. I said, "No, I'm good." Then I walked out. Sat in my car for 20 minutes, engine off, just listening to the sound of my own breath. That was the first moment I knew something was over, not because of what I saw, but because of what wasn't there. She didn't flinch, and neither did I. The next day I started paying closer attention, not to them, to the space between us. And what I saw was silence. The first time I met Claire, she was standing in front of a whiteboard with a broken marker. Ink smudged across her wrist like war paint. She didn't notice me at first, just kept talking to the team like the room belonged to her. Later she told me she knew I was watching, said she liked how I leaned against the doorway, arms crossed, no fake smile. "You looked like the kind of guy who didn't talk just to fill silence," she said. I took it as a compliment. Back then we were both hungry. New firm, long hours, bad coffee. I still had a futon and a walk-up and wore 2 suits on rotation. She lived off protein bars and told people she liked the hustle. I believed her. "The first night we stayed late," she said. "If we don't make it, at least we'll have been in the room when something happened." I didn't kiss her that night. Just drove her home and watched her disappear into a lobby that smelled like burnt toast and floor cleaner. We didn't rush into it. We built something. Claire had ideas I couldn't ignore, bold, reckless stuff I never would have tried alone. She made me better at risk. I made her better at follow-through. That's how we described it when people asked. Balanced. That word felt right at the time. We used to rehearse presentations in our kitchen. She'd wear my hoodie, barefoot, hair tied up with a pen. I'd pretend to be the board and interrupt her with fake objections just so I could watch her tear them down. We laughed a lot in those early days, not the surface kind, the real, shake-the-walls kind. We made it fun to be broke, ate ramen like it was a ritual, kept coins in a glass jar labeled exit plan. She used to say, "One day we'll break this thing open and toast with something better than boxed wine." The night I made partner track, we sat on the floor and split a grocery store cake with plastic forks. She kissed frosting off my lip and whispered, "Don't forget who clapped first." I never did. But things started to shift after that, subtle at first. I got busier. She got quieter. We'd go days without syncing up except to pass each other a phone charger or ask if we were out of milk. I figured that's what success looked like. Less time, more pressure. I told myself love didn't need constant maintenance, it just had to be strong enough to survive the gaps. We still had moments, though. She'd leave me notes in my briefcase, little jokes, reminders, "Kill the meeting, not the intern," or "Smile," or "I'm changing the Wi-Fi password." That one made me laugh in the middle of a board review. I kept the note in my wallet for months. There was one Sunday morning I still think about. It was raining hard. I had my laptop open, going through quarterly stuff. She was sitting across from me, hair wet from a shower, sipping coffee from the mug I bought her when she got her first solo client. Out of nowhere, she said, "You think we're gonna make it?" I looked up kind of stunned. "What do you mean?" "Us," she said, tapping the side of her mug. "This, all of it." I remember my response, word for word. "If we don't," I said, "then nothing I've built makes sense." She smiled, but it was the kind that didn't quite reach her eyes. And then she got up to answer a phone call in the other room. I told myself not to read into it. I'd always hated when people said relationships take work. It sounded like a warning. But now I think they were just being honest. We had the kind of connection people envied. At least, that's what they told us. We were the couple in the elevator making deals with glances. The couple who showed up to client dinners polished and sharp. People called us a unit. But sometimes, units crack in places no one sees. She stopped leaving notes. I stopped asking why. And in those quiet spaces where laughter used to live, something else started to grow. I didn't know it yet, but the story we'd built together was already being rewritten. By one of us. And the other one was still clapping. It started with the door code. We had the same one for 3 years, our anniversary backwards. I came home one night, hands full of takeout and files, and it didn't work. Just a beep and a red light. Tried it again. Same thing. Claire opened the door before I could knock. She smiled like nothing happened. "Oh, sorry," she said. "I had to change it. Security told the building we should all update." I nodded. "You didn't want to tell me." She waved it off. "You were buried in audits. I didn't want to bug you." She told me the new code, kissed me on the cheek, and went back to the couch where her laptop glowed with a half-written email. I stood there for a second longer than I should have, holding the food, wondering if that was the first time I'd ever felt like a guest in my own home. From then on, the little things started stacking. She started using words she never used before. Bandwidth, emotional labor, holding space. Not that there's anything wrong with those words, it's just, they didn't sound like her, not the her I knew. It was like she was quoting someone new. Our routines began to split. She stopped joining me at the gym. Said she was doing Pilates now, at a studio I'd never heard of. She'd come home smelling different, not just sweat or soap, but that light citrus perfume she used to wear only for client dinners. I asked her once if she'd switched shampoos. She said I was imagining things. Her phone stayed face down more often, on silent, the kind of silence that fills a room even when no one's talking. I told myself I was being paranoid, that this was just what happens when two people work too much and sleep too little. So I adjusted. I started cooking again, even though I was never good at it. Left her a coffee and the travel mug she liked. Put on that podcast she used to love during Sunday cleanup. She didn't say thank you, just asked if I could turn it down because she had a call in 10. It got to the point where I started journaling, not like therapy, more like tracking what we said, when we said it, not for proof, just to keep my memory from slipping. She tell me we agreed to something, and I'd sit there wondering if I really was losing track of reality. One night I asked if she wanted to go away for the weekend, just us, a break. She hesitated. You mean like a retreat? I shrugged. No, like a break from all this, from phones and clients and trying to pretend we're not tired. She bit her lip. I just don't think I have the capacity right now. Capacity. That word hit me harder than I expected, like love had turned into a Google Calendar. Later that night I saw her texting someone, fast, quiet taps. She angled the screen away barely, then smiled at whatever popped up. I said, "Who's that?" She didn't miss a beat. Jess from Strategy. I didn't push, didn't want to be that guy, the jealous husband, the insecure one. So I nodded, brushed my teeth, and lay beside her as she fell asleep with her back to me. The next morning I checked the mirror. My eyes looked older, not tired, just faded, like I was starting to disappear, one detail at a time. The final crack came during a meeting. I'd stopped by her floor to grab a file someone said was misrouted. As I walked past the open glass conference room, I saw her inside, sitting beside him. Josh. He was leaned in, whispering something. She laughed, not loud, just soft and familiar. The kind of laugh that used to be mine. The kind that curled at the end like a signature. I kept walking, didn't pause, didn't make eye contact. But that laugh followed me down the hallway, echoed inside like it was being played from somewhere I couldn't reach. That night she asked if I could start locking the door behind me when I got home, just in case. I said sure. Then I lay awake wondering who exactly she was protecting us from. HR called me on a Thursday. I remember because it was the one morning I actually felt ahead. Decks were done, forecasts prepped. Claire had already left early for some leadership offsite. I was sipping coffee in the break room when I saw the email. Please stop by at your earliest convenience. No subject line, just cold, centered text. I knew before I got there. The walk to HR felt longer than usual, every step quieter. I nodded at the receptionist. She didn't smile back. Inside, two people were waiting, not the usual HR manager, but someone new, and someone from legal. No coffee offered, no small talk, just a closed door and a manila folder on the table. They used words like concerning dynamics and complaints regarding leadership tone. Said they'd received internal feedback about my management style. It was all vague, purposefully so. No one named, no incident cited, just language engineered to sound serious without saying anything concrete. I sat there nodding, not arguing, not defending. Because somewhere, deep in my gut, I already knew where this was going. I asked, "Is this permanent?" They looked at each other. One of them cleared his throat. "We believe a separation would be in the best interest of all parties." I signed the paperwork, didn't ask questions, didn't shout. I think that rattled them more than if I had. On the elevator ride down, I stared at my own reflection in the chrome paneling, tie slightly off-center, one collar tip curling up. I looked replaceable. Claire didn't answer her phone when I called. I didn't leave a voicemail, just drove home, parked in the same spot I always had, walked in through the same door. Except something fell off. Her shoes weren't in the hallway. The key tray was empty. The fridge was cleaner than usual, like someone had gone through it, wiped it down. There was a single glass in the sink, lipstick stain, not her usual shade. I told myself I was reading too much into it. Until I opened her laptop. I know I shouldn't have, but I did. She hadn't logged out, maybe on purpose, maybe just careless. There were messages, Slack, email, texts, conversations with him, Josh, long threads, inside jokes, screenshots of things I'd said in meetings. Comments like, "He's spiraling. Just smile and let him bury himself. Soon it'll be our turn." They joked about the new office layout, talked about the corner desk like it already belonged to him. She told him I was starting to unravel, that I wasn't sleeping, that I couldn't handle change. They called me a relic. There was even a picture taken during the off-site she'd gone to that morning. Her in a black dress I'd never seen before, sitting beside him at dinner, his hand just barely on her chair, her smile sharp and easy. I sat back, felt something in my chest I couldn't name, not anger, not sadness, just vacancy, like someone had scraped out the center of me and left the shell upright. I didn't confront her that night. She came home late, smelling like hotel soap and Chardonnay, said the off-site ran long, asked if I wanted takeout. I said I wasn't hungry. She didn't ask why. We slept back to back. The next morning, she was already gone when I woke up, but she'd left a note on the counter. "Hope today feels lighter." No heart, no initials. Just those 5 words. Later that week, I saw her LinkedIn post. It was short, polished, the kind of thing she used to write for other people. Excited to support my partner in his new role, leading strategy and growth. The best is yet to come. Her partner. His promotion. My job. No tags, no names, but anyone in the industry would know. They fired me, then handed my team to the man she'd been sleeping with, and she had the gall to call it support. I didn't comment, didn't like the post, just stared at it until my laptop screen dimmed from inactivity. When she came home that night, I was sitting on the couch. She walked in like nothing had changed, set her bag down, kicked off her shoes. "Hey," she said, "you good?" I looked at her, really looked. Same face, same voice, but nothing behind it felt familiar. I said, "Did you love him while you were loving me?" She blinked. "What?" "You heard me." She paused. "It's complicated." I nodded. "No, it's not." She didn't deny it, didn't apologize, just walked into the bedroom, closed the door. I stayed on the couch. I didn't cry, didn't move. I just let the silence stretch out around me, long and cold, until even the walls stopped echoing her name. I didn't scream, didn't break things, didn't even confront her again. I just went quiet. There's a power in silence people don't talk about. Not the passive kind, the active kind. The kind that spreads through a room like smoke and makes the other person fill it with noise. She tried to keep things normal. Morning coffee, passive updates. She asked if I'd considered freelance consulting, like I'd just lost a side gig, not my career. I'd nod, sip my drink, stare through her. I wasn't planning revenge. Not yet, I just needed space. So I started with passwords. Dropbox, Google Drive, even the old pitch archives we'd built together during those ramen and box wine years. I didn't delete anything, didn't lock her out, just removed shared permissions. Quietly, no alerts, no drama. She didn't even notice, not right away. Then I went for the lease. We'd signed jointly, but the renewal was set to auto-lapse in 90 days. I never brought it up. Let her assume I'd handle it like I always did. I started packing the things that mattered: old journals, thumb drives, the watch my dad left me. The framed photo from our first business award, I put that in one of her boxes, face down. One night she came home with a bag from that overpriced salad place she liked. She was on the phone, laughing. I don't think she realized I was in the room. I watched her from the hallway, her heels off. One sock halfway rolled down, laughing like a teenager. She said, "No, he's here, but it's fine. He's distracted." She was talking to him. I didn't need to hear a name. I walked back into the study, opened my notebook and made a list. At the top I wrote, "Remove emotion, add strategy." The next morning, I started the clock. First step, move money, not hers, mine. We'd never joined accounts, her choice. Said it kept things cleaner. I agreed at the time. Now I saw it for what it was, insulation. She kept me separate, so I did the same. I shifted my savings, opened new accounts, quiet banks, no paper mail, set up a new LLC consulting shell, mostly legal, fully mine. She asked once why I was out so much. I said I was networking. She nodded like she believed me. She didn't know I was meeting with one of my old clients. The one she always said was too old school for her taste. I pitched him something simple: restructured growth, independent strategy, non-competitive clause. He said yes. He didn't even ask about Claire. Meanwhile at home, the signs started showing. She was confused when her shared folder didn't load. Said Dropbox must have updated. I just said, "Yeah, probably." She smiled, not realizing the door had already closed. She asked if I'd seen the lease renewal. I told her I hadn't gotten around to it, that I was still figuring things out. She offered to handle it. I shrugged. The truth is, I'd already put in my notice. Found a short-term sublet near the office I wasn't telling her about. Half the size, no view, but it was mine. And I was moving in 3 weeks. One night I left a printed copy of the severance package, the one I never signed, on the kitchen table, just the top page. No notes, no explanation. She picked it up, scanned it, and said, "You never told me they offered you this." I looked at her. "There were a lot of things you never told me." She didn't respond, just folded the paper too carefully and set it down. That was the first time I saw a crack in her. Not guilt, not regret, just the realization that I was no longer trying to fix it. She asked, "Are you okay?" I said, "I'm getting there." She didn't ask what that meant. The last week before I left, I unplugged emotionally. No more morning coffee together, no updates, no shared dinners. She started staying out later, coming home quieter. On my final night in that apartment, I didn't say anything. I left early, took only the things I brought in. No note, no key, no goodbye. But I did leave one thing behind: the framed photo of us, the one she used to keep on her desk. I put it back on the counter, face up this time, right beside her reusable water bottle and unread mail. When she came home, I imagined she saw it. The two of us standing in front of the firm logo, shaking hands with the execs who used to bet on us. I wonder what she thought. I didn't ask. I just turned off my phone, stepped into my new apartment, and let the silence settle. Not the empty kind. The peaceful kind. I didn't update my LinkedIn, didn't post a single photo. While Claire and Josh posed at rooftop happy hours and posted hashtags like leadership goals, I stayed quiet, focused, off the grid on purpose. I joined a competitor. Not a big name, not yet. But the founder had vision and something more important: a grudge. He'd lost a major contract to Claire's firm 3 years ago and never let it go. I didn't pitch myself as a savior. I just showed him where the cracks were, how to widen them, where to push. We worked quietly, strategically. No press releases, just clean moves. During our 4th week, he told me something over drinks that I never forgot. He said, "You don't win by yelling louder. You win by owning the room before they even realize they walked into it." So we waited. Meanwhile, the firm Claire and Josh were now running, over-leveraged, top-heavy. They made an acquisition 6 months before they pushed me out, paid too much too fast. The leadership was stretched and junior turnover was bleeding margin. I knew the numbers. I'd built those models. I also knew they had a silent investor, one I'd met at a dinner years ago. Guy loved two things, returns and leverage. I reached out through a friend, floated a scenario, anonymously. 3 weeks later, my new firm, through a holding company, made an offer to acquire. Not the full firm, just the part that mattered, strategy division. The one I built from the ground up. The one Josh was now in charge of badly. It wasn't hostile, it didn't need to be. The numbers spoke for themselves. The deal went through in 6 weeks. Claire didn't see it coming, Josh definitely didn't. On paper it was just a restructure, no heads rolled, not right away. But once the ink dried, things started shifting. Josh kept his job technically, but his title changed. Director became manager. His team dismantled, merged, reassigned. He lost the corner desk, got moved to the bullpen. They gave me his office. I didn't request it, I just showed up and it was waiting. Same skyline view, same worn leather chair. The first morning he walked in, saw me sitting there and froze. "Morning," I said, calm, no edge. He blinked. "This is temporary." I shrugged. "Aren't we all?" He nodded, walked out. I let him sweat. Claire reached out 2 days later. Not a call, just a text. "Was this your plan all along?" I didn't respond. 2 hours later, another one. "You've made your point." Still nothing. I didn't block her, I just didn't feed it. The new team ran lean. We made decisions fast. I brought in 2 old clients who'd walked after I left. They were eager to return, not because of me, but because they hated who replaced me. I reinstated the training program I built, rehired an analyst Claire had pushed out, sent her a welcome package, branded hoodie, company mug, a handwritten note that said, "Glad you're back where you belong." Josh started showing up late, stopped contributing in meetings. One day he tried to take credit for an internal strategy doc. Problem was, it had metadata, my name, my timestamp from 2 years ago. I didn't call him out. Just sent the original to leadership, quietly, no CC to him. By the end of the quarter, he resigned, cited misalignment with company vision. Claire tried once more. This time it was a voice memo. Her tone was different, less edge, more nostalgia. "I miss how we used to build things together. I was wrong about a lot. I see that now." She ended it with, "We were good once, weren't we?" I listened to it twice. Then I deleted it. There's no satisfaction in revenge if you go around announcing it. That's not justice. That's ego. But watching her firm, her world, shrink while mine expanded. That wasn't ego. That was clarity. One afternoon I found the mug, the one from all those months ago, best, boss, ever, tucked away in a storage bin. I placed it in the office kitchen, next to the new employee welcome board. No note. Just the object, just the silence. The kind that says everything. She started small. A forwarded meme. Some inside joke we'd shared years ago, something about bad coffee and worse clients. No message, just the image, like she thought that would open a door I'd already bricked shut. I didn't reply. Then came the LinkedIn like. She heart-reacted to an article I posted about leadership integrity. The irony wasn't lost on me. Still, I said nothing. She tried texting next. "Hey, just checking in." That one stayed unread. Then came the note, handwritten, left at reception in an envelope with my name spelled in her favorite blue ink, the gel pen she used to hoard like currency. Inside, just 5 words. "Can we talk, one coffee?" No apology, no explanation. Just the same soft manipulation she always relied on, the kind that makes you question whether you're being too harsh, too cold, too unforgiving. I stared at the note for a long time. Then I folded it once, clean down the center, and dropped it in the shred bin by the door. The sound it made, that low, quiet crinkle, was louder than anything she'd said in months. At the office, people noticed the shift. Not just with me, with her. She wasn't on the industry panels anymore. Wasn't tagged in group photos. No more rooftop strategy dinners or blurry cocktail selfies. Someone told me she'd stepped down from her culture committee leadership role. No one said why. I heard Josh was freelancing now, building some sort of startup incubator. The kind of thing people say when they don't have real work but still need to sound impressive at brunch. A part of me expected her to show up at my new place, to knock, cry, say something raw enough to dig under my ribs, but she never did. Maybe she knew it wouldn't work. Maybe she just didn't want to face me without her power. I kept everything minimal. My apartment, my routines, no clutter, no echoes of her laugh in the furniture. I even replaced my coffee mugs. One day I passed by the old apartment building, not on purpose, just one of those city detours that life throws at you. Her car wasn't in the lot. The window we used to sit by, empty. I didn't feel triumphant, didn't feel regret. Just quiet. Like walking out of a long, dark movie and realizing the world kept spinning. A mutual friend messaged me once saying Claire had asked how I was doing, said she'd seemed different lately, quieter, more internal. I said I was good. That was it. I wasn't interested in postmortems. By then, people had stopped asking what happened between us, and I'd stopped rehearsing the answer in my head. Because, truthfully, it didn't matter anymore. I wasn't chasing closure. I'd already built it. People say closure comes with answers. It doesn't. It comes with distance, with silence, with the moment you realize you no longer need an apology to move on. I think back sometimes, not out of longing, but inventory, like flipping through a file you once thought you'd need forever, only to realize the case is closed. Claire once told me I was her ladder, that I helped her climb when she felt stuck. At the time, I took it as a compliment, thought it meant we were rising together. But ladders don't move. They just get stepped on. I don't hate her. That would require energy, emotion. What I feel now is simpler, a kind of neutrality that used to seem impossible. She took something from me, yes, time, trust, years I thought were solid, but in the end she gave me something too. Clarity. Clarity that love without respect is just performance, that ambition without loyalty is rot, that silence, when chosen carefully, can say more than any speech. I built a new version of myself in the quiet. No fanfare, no announcements, just a man who knows the cost of giving someone everything and being treated like a placeholder. She used to say I was too calm, that I needed more passion, more heat. But calm is how I survived her. And now, it's how I live. I never responded to her last message. I never will, not out of spite, but because there's nothing left to say. Some endings don't need punctuation. Just a pause and a step away. This is Revenge with Camden. If you've ever been betrayed by the person you trusted most, hit subscribe. You're not alone.